always got to start with taking in some of that good old nature prana, excuse me, prana, that energy, that chi. I just wanted to start out here saying I apologize. I took some time off. I think that's what this message is going to be about today, is that, sometimes life can pull you away from, can feel like it's pulling you away from your dreams, right? Or the things that you actually want to accomplish in life. And that can be hard to deal with, you know what I mean? And in my personal experience, because when I say life, you might think negative things, which can have a negative impact. But I'm more specifically talking about the breath of life, you know what I mean? Enjoying life. This past weekend, I had a really nice experience going around Charleston. A friend of mine, or someone special to me, was participating in the Cooper River Bridge Run, which is basically, it's a 10K mile, or 10K, excuse me, run that goes from one island of the area over a very long bridge onto another island, which is going to be the Charleston area island. And ironically, that friend, or that special person of mine, had a story regarding that goal of hers a few weekends back, when we had another we hung out again. She actually injured herself. I remember she was training so hard every day after work. She made sure that she got out there and trained for this run. She wasn't just like jumping into it. It wasn't something that she was kind of, like hoping that went well. She actually was putting in the work to make sure that she was prepared to do her best, right? To be her best. And that's something I had a lot of respect for. I still have a lot of respect for. Unfortunately, just weeks before the race, we were hanging out, just doing like a nature walk, and something happened where she ended up hurting herself. And it didn't seem serious at first. We didn't really think much of it until afterwards she realized that she felt the pain, and she was kind of worried. Her instant thought was, oh no, is this gonna affect me being able to finish that race that she had been training so hard for? She was training so hard, you know what I mean? And really meeting, just the goals that she set for herself, the expectations. Maybe her expectations were higher than she, felt like she was reaching to. But, one thing that I would just remind her is that she has never given up on herself, right? She just continued at putting in that work. And this is before the race, you know what I mean? This isn't even actually the race. This is training for the race. And I relate, I resonate with having super high expectations and feeling like I'm just, sometimes I'm not ever hitting the mark that I feel is where I need to be, so that I can be where I need to be when the time comes. So long story short, because of that injury, she was unable to complete the race how she wanted to. But through all of that, through her feeling the injury, it was probably 3 or 4 weeks before the race that she got injured. So she was playing it by ear, kind of taking things day by day. And I remember like day one after the injury, she was still, even though I was, trying to be a good support system and just reminding her, not to try to force the outcome, and kind of just taking things slowly, and seeing how she felt as time went on. And as time went on, I remember the day one, she was like, "No, I'm gonna try to do this race," and that passion, that determination, you know, it's like sometimes the right thing, the right thing, just isn't as powerful as the intention behind what you actually are setting out to do. And because it's her race, and who am I to get in between her and her passions, her goals? I'm not anyone to get in between that. But if it were me, putting myself in her shoes, there's a good chance that I would have probably sat the race out. I would have looked for, maybe the next race that I could participate in, especially if days or weeks before the actual race, I didn't feel up to it. I didn't feel ready. But no, she persisted. Days before the race, she was still in preparation, getting herself ready, and even though she wasn't going to be able to finish the race how she intended, all that work that she put in, I know that was so heavy on her, was that, she trained so hard just for it to feel like she wasn't able to, prove it and show it in how she attacked that race, when the day came. But again, me and her are two different people, and this is, I have the utmost respect for this person. I value them, on an indescribable level. But she completed that race. When the day came, days before that date, she spoke to someone to make sure that she would be able to complete the race, even if she wasn't doing it how she intended. And long story short, she was able to get in there and complete that race. And she even, pushed the boundaries and tried to, do it the way she had intended. But she was able to bring herself back down to reality. I'm sure she could have done it, right? Even she said afterwards, she was like, I could have done it. What was holding her back was the pain. And I say all that just to say, in life, sometimes things are going to happen. Sometimes things are going to happen and things are going to slow you down. But she was such a great example of, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade or make apple juice. We used to make that joke back in high school. It's not really that funny because it doesn't make any sense unless it does to you. But anyway, I'm here today. I didn't really come out with any script or thing that I knew that I was going to talk about today, but it's just so funny how, the two things that I'm, because I had spent this weekend with that person and had a really great time. But what happened was that, it had pulled me away from my intentions, of bringing consistent work to my channel. And, it's still a brand new channel. I don't have any subscribers. I think I do have a subscriber, but, and I appreciate whoever you are. I didn't get a chance to look at and see who this subscriber was, but I appreciate anyone who's able to subscribe to my channel. It's so very appreciated, and I'm very grateful and thankful for your support. yeah, but I'm just doing this thing, you know, starting from scratch, and you know, my intention is just to be consistent. It's just to keep showing up, and you know, it doesn't seem that hard. I've been having some like technical difficulties with uploading videos. I have to have the right memory chip for my camera. You know, there's still a lot of things that I'm ironing out. But that's just like I was just talking about, is when life gives you lemons, we gotta make lemonade. So rolling with the punches, taking these experiences and learning from them, these are big keys in, you know, creating the life that we want for ourselves. If she had let that injury prevent her from completing that race, you know, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to, you know, imagine what that might have felt like for her moving forward, right? Like today, how would she have felt knowing that race was behind her and was a missed opportunity? She never let that become an issue for her, right? She continued, she persisted, she pressed on, and now she gets to go home with the memory of having completed that race, and she also gets, you know, a medal. I believe she said she was getting 2 medals, right? And that's something that's you can't pay for that, right? You could buy a medal, but you can't buy the experience. You can't buy the memory. And even though it's a memory that didn't really align with the memory she had set out for herself when she signed up for that race, it's still a memory that she can move forward with, knowing that she had completed that race, right? That memory is solidified as something that she can say she accomplished and bring with her forward. And now probably, you know, the next time she signs up for a race, she might care to be a little bit more careful about her choices moving towards that race. And not to say that, you know, she was like negligent or careless, you know, before the race, but sometimes it just takes experience. It takes learning lessons for us to be better prepared for the things that we want to accomplish in life. So that means falling on your face sometimes, right? That means making mistakes. That means, okay, I'm taking this test, and unfortunately, I don't know what I'm looking at on this paper, right? You leave that test and you had all these high expectations to pass that test so that you can get to the place that passing that test puts you. But sometimes you gotta fail a couple times so that you can get it right that one time when you're ready. So I ain't gonna make this a long message. I just wanted to share something with you guys, and I feel like this was, you know, substantive. So yeah, guys, I said I was gonna introduce myself, and I've been avoiding giving my name. My name for now is Shine, and welcome to Rise and Shiner, the channel.